Run them jewels fast, run them jewels fast, run them, fuck the slow mo.
Hey. All right, people, we're back. We're live. So this is Run the Julz podcast production once again. Another episode of Hoop and Harm, your favorite NBA. Go ahead.
We gotta get a better intro.
We gotta get a what?
We gotta get a better intro.
Yeah, I mean, I say something different every time, so I need like I'm working on theme music. Now that I got my digital production assistant back, he knows how to do computer things that I don't. So we've got theme music coming, and maybe even some pretty graphics, and everything below.
Can we do like a Biggie song over the Jurassic Park theme, or some crazy mashup? Just something crazy.
Yeah. We could definitely do that. You want to record it ourselves?
Let's just get weird.
Yeah. Okay. I'm thinking like a bit of like Annie Up with cross between maybe like the kid from Miami who says "Good job, good effort." Just a mashup of those two.
I can work with this.
Keep it current. Okay. Yeah. We'll talk. We'll figure something out. So, as you can tell, this is Hoop and Harm. My name is always Pat Julian. My co-host from beautiful, brilliant, excellent, tremendous San Diego, California, is even my more stupendous friend and co-host, Andrew Berry.
Yo, I got nothing else. I have no intro tonight. Yo.
That's fine. That's good. Last time we spoke, it was in person. I was in California, and I got to spend a little bit of time at a luxurious Starbucks location with yourself and the lovely Leah, and we got to talk to a little bit of hoops in person, which was pretty sweet. But now we're back to doing it virtually. So digitally is the way we're gonna go moving forward for the next hour or so. All right, so we're not too deep, but we're semi-deep into the playoffs here. We're middle towards the end of round 2. We've already had round 1, obviously, and there's a lot of good stuff going on around the league. A lot of good topics, a lot of good series right now. The series in round 2 have been very good, very competitive. And we'll also touch on a little bit of our beloved Celtics getting bounced in round 1 and what they might be cooking up going forward into the offseason. And I guess first we'll talk about just some of our favorite things so far in the first round and a half of the NBA playoffs. I know mine is the resurgence of childhood hero Paul Pierce. And his ability to just put his foot on everybody's neck around the league so far that he's come to face. He's playing right now against the Hawks. I need to go back and check the game cast to see where we're at with that.
I just looked at Hawks. I mean, the Wiz are up a little bigger now.
Okay. Yeah, the Wiz are up 4 with 4.5 minutes to go. So that series is tied 2-2, and it's been good. It's been good so far. All of them have been good. Even the one that I thought was going to potentially close out last night with the Clippers and the Rockets. But, James Harden, pulled a Michael Jordan and on the flu pulled a triple-double out of his hat. So it's pretty impressive to watch. And the Rockets seem to look like they're not going to totally roll over and die, even though it was kind of feeling that way for a little while. So I'm going to say one of my favorite things so far has been Paul Pierce. Obviously, we know about, leading into the playoffs, the way he kind of had that pretty candid interview with, it was Jackie McMullen, I believe, right? Yeah. And he kind of said, like, he's been working on his teammates, deciding if the young guys, Beal and Wall in particular, want to be good or great. They seem to be responding. Wall's having a great game right now with that broken hand. And by great game, I mean he's producing with a broken hand. I mean, you don't have to do much to be impressive with a broken hand, but he's doing a lot. And obviously he had those choice. Paul had those choice words to say for Toronto, and had a great shots fired moment at Drake at the end of the series, which I love that. And obviously the did you call bank? I called game moment with Chris Broussard for his buzzer beater win. So Paul Pierce has been my favorite thing of the playoffs so far, bar none. What about you? You got any favorites so far?
Yeah, I mean, that's a hard one not to agree with. Obviously, Paul Pierce, soft spot in everyone's heart that ever watched him wear green. I'm gonna go with, just to be a contrarian, I'm actually gonna go with this last series game one. Tony Allen running up and down the court yelling defense for or all team defense, whatever he was yelling, defensive player of the year, whatever he was yelling.
First team.
That was pretty funny to watch live. First team all defense, yeah. That was pretty funny to watch live, and just pretty funny to watch played out the day or two after that. So that's part of my favorite. Just funny, just genuine competitiveness. I thought, just sort of genuine love for the game, and Tony Allen from back in his day.
Yeah, weird that we
still shooting bricks, but always a good defender.
Yeah, definitely still throwing up ducks, but weird that both of us chose former Celtics to praise for our favorite couple things around the league. What are you gonna do?
I like seeing Jeff Green too. Kendrick Perkins I love seeing Kendrick play. And no, I can go on all day and name former Celtics. I think those are my favorites.
Yeah, Jason Terry. Everybody. Leandro Barbosa doing a little bit of work.
Jason Terry and Corey Brewer out on the same team. They're the same person.
Howard Jet and who?
Corey Brewer.
Oh, yeah, they're similar, but I feel as if like Brewer's a little bit more gets after it in terms of. I definitely think he's more athletic, and I think he's got better defensive ability. I like Brewer on that team. I was watching them last night, and obviously the Rockets are
there. Looks alone. They don't play like the same person. Just looks alone.
Right. Yeah. That team is
3 or 4 times I've seen 3 or 4 times I've seen Corey Brewer shoot, and I'm like, oh, Jason Terry. Like, no, it's Brewer. And then like completely opposite did the other night. I was like, oh, I don't know Corey Brewer was playing that much, and it's like, oh, that's Jason Terry. Just funny. They wear like the same like baggy shirt. They have a huge headband.
Yeah. Now that you say that, yeah, it's definitely that way. Like
that's all. They're different people, but
the camera, that's what the camera angle, like the way it's always positioned on those guys, they look like the same. They have like the same sort of shooting stroke too. I feel like. So every time, I'm with you. I will definitely mix the two when you see somebody spotting up beyond the arc. So right now we're into the second round. The first round was a pretty good first round. There were a few series that were stretched a little longer, and a few that were over pretty quickly, such as our own with the Cleveland Browns. And we were just overmatched in that team. I mean, they had too much talent in the Cavaliers. I think on one of the previous pods, I said I'd be surprised if they got swept. And I am still kind of, but I thought we were going to get one of those games at least. Just the way the team plays and how smart Brad Stevens is. Not to say the team didn't play hard or Brad Stevens is dumb, but they were just overpowered at certain times, and late in games they took them deep in almost every game, and just we don't have the talent yet to put it over the top. But anyway, I felt very encouraged watching them play. I know that they're like not ready, but I was still happy to see them getting after it. Seeing Kelly Olynyk basically break Kevin Love's shoulder, I guess, which was on purpose, according to the Cavaliers and some of the national media. But it couldn't be so much further from the truth. It's ridiculous. Like, I don't think, I think Kelly Olynyk has reservations about clipping his own toenails, never mind separating somebody's shoulder. Like, he's not that way. So, And the fact that Kevin Love won't return his call. He's just not. Every time KL tries to reach out, he's like, "I'm good. I'm not going to accept your apology."
Just picture like a sad Kelly Olynyk like calling him, and every time like Kevin Love doesn't pick up, he just lets out like this deep like long lost sigh and just like puts his phone down, throws his hair back in his hand, and just like sits there and thinks for a couple minutes. I just picture Kelly Olynyk like sat at his kitchen table trying to call Kevin Love.
I I'll give you another. I figure him just with his cell phone in the middle of the Boston Commons, sitting Indian style, like sitting there reflecting, like, okay, maybe today.
Oh, like a yoga mat in the grass or something.
Yeah, exactly. Poor KO. Yeah, not much you can ask for. We're happy to see them in the playoffs, so that was cool. I always hate losing to a LeBron team. And it was like, I remember going to the series, I was like, this is a new Cavaliers team. Let's see what happens. But it was like in the middle of game one, I was like, oh yeah, I remember how much I hate the Cleveland Cavaliers. It was just,
I guess the one thing I'm just looking at right now. I didn't get to see much of game 4. That was the day after I moved, so I didn't get to see much of that. But like the other 3 games, I think I watched pretty much start to finish. Do you remember it being a 13-point loss, an 8-point loss, and an 8-point loss? I felt like all those games were closer than those 3. That seems to be about right when you think of like the actual basketball that I watch in terms of the talent between the 2 teams. But in terms of differential, I didn't think. I guess it sounds cliche, but I thought a lot of those games were closer than the final score would kind of show. All those points, and I mean, to keep them outside of the first game, to keep them in around 100, 99, 103, and 101, I think is pretty good, for a team like that.
yeah.
The Celtics kind of come out and at least make them earn their 4 games that they won. I mean, I never really felt, maybe a little bit of game 2, I felt like the Celtics actually had a shot to win, but it wasn't that I thought the Celtics had a shot to win the series, let alone, game or 2.
Right.
But I felt like that they made them. They didn't just lay down. They didn't just kiss the rings, as some people would say. They kind of made them play. And I was a little disappointed they went 4. I just wanted to see him play a 5th game and just to see what that sort of added a little extra excitement would have done. But yeah, I guess I did say before that it would all be for naught if they went into that series and got swept out. And so I guess I can't back down for that. But I was impressed to see them at least play really hard and make the life a little bit difficult on LeBron and Kyrie, yes. But yeah. I agree with you though. I this playoffs, for some reason, I remember how much I just truly hate LeBron with like the fire of a million suns, not even 1,000 suns, a million suns. I just remember how much I hate him. I don't know if it's the Cavs jersey, if he's just reverting back to his Cavs ways. I don't know, but I hate him so much.
Yeah, I'm with you. He's so like, we could do a whole thing on LeBron, and we won't go for an hour on LeBron, but he's just, it's so frustrating because he's the greatest player on the planet, and he's just
the worst.
Yeah, his personality and like off the court stuff and the excuse making and the self promotion and like self praise that he just gives, like the stuff that's been going on in the Bulls series is just insufferable. Like, I can't even. I have no idea how I finished that game on my ankle. Like that stuff that came out to Rachel Nichols or whatever, and that he's gonna have to like retool and refocus like after. Like, don't say anything, dude. Or the way like he just basically threw David Blatt under the bus again with his game-winning shot, and he was like, "Yeah, Blatt drew something up, but I scratched that." He goes, "I scratched that," and then looks at the camera and like smirks, like, "Yeah, I scratched that." And then I won the game for us. It just makes my skin crawl. But you can't not watch him and like appreciate his greatness on the court. It's just, he's so frustrating to me because everybody should adore this guy. And the fact that he's so insufferable drives me nuts. So
he's not even insufferable from like a Kobe or like a Jordan where like they're just cutthroat. They just want to win, and it's just like, oh, I hate his competitive streak. He's just I don't even. There's not a word for him. He's just the worst.
Yeah, he's an ass clown in my head. Like
we can get into. There's been no less than 5 things from this Bulls series alone where you're just like, when are you gonna get it? I thought you got it for a bit in Miami when you stopped talking for a bit. I thought you ended up getting it. I thought it was just about basketball, but it's the not gonna make excuses. But Kyrie's been playing with a hurt foot. Hey LeBron, you didn't have any turnovers. Oh, that's really awesome. That's the first stat I look at. I don't pat myself on the back, but that's pretty good. It's like you said, coach called a play for someone else, but I told him, nah, just give me the ball. Like, don't just say. Why do you have to even say that?
Yeah, it's like he doesn't get enough praise anyway. He needs to like make sure he points out his greatness. We know you're great, dude. Just stop talking about it. Like,
and that's not even to mention I don't talk trash now because I'm a father of 3 kids. I can't. I have no.
Oh my god! I was like, I'm not a Joe Noah fan. I sort of am, but like not outright because of his not understanding what Kevin Garnett does. Like when he was getting pissed at the Celtics and KG back in the day during those good series. But that's Joe Noah. He's mini Kevin Garnett, and when he's bringing it during the playoffs, like he's supposed to do, like true basketball operates. You can't like run to the media and say like, I think Joakim Noah's being a bit disrespectful out there and saying some mean words to me that I don't want to have to hear. What? Like, you're a 30-year-old grown man. Like, what are we talking about? It's mind numbing. It's crazy. I don't know. But I kind of want to
hope. Part of me kind of hopes Joakim said something so bad that he actually deserved getting called out in public. Like, part of me was like, when I first heard that, I was like, oh, what did he say about Delonte West and LeBron's mom? I just hope he said something just so awful that if like the public actually knew what Joakim Noah said, everyone would be like, all right, that's actually true, LeBron. Joakim probably shouldn't have gone there. It's like in my mind, I just have him saying just the worst thing you could possibly say to another human being. It kind of makes me happy, honestly. I like Joakim. Nice.
Yeah.
Tell LeBron that.
Yeah, I feel like Joakim's capable of it. You could probably come up with some good ones. But I'm kind of rooting for the Cavs a little bit, not outrightly, but I want them to play the Wizards and Paul, and just because Paul is LeBron's tormentor, and that will never change. And it's my favorite thing to watch Paul get the better of LeBron, at no matter what age. And we won't go into it, but I listened. I think it was a Simmons podcast. I don't know if you heard him talk about. I don't know, who was he talking to? Talking to. Yeah, right. Talking to somebody about where, like, chronicling where the LeBron Paul Pierce beef started, and I guess it's like way back in like 2004, 2005 or something, and just kind of went through it and how like Paul and LeBron always meet and clash in the playoffs, and it's always a foregone conclusion, and how much fun it would be to see it again in the Eastern Conference Finals. So I'm kind of hoping for that outcome.
If you think about it, LeBron is kind of the poster boy of the whole generation of basketball players that called in that very article. The whole play AAU your whole life and play with these people, and expect to be exalted before you do anything, So LeBron is that person. There have been obviously others that have come in the league that are that similar, but LeBron is the poster boy for that sort of, that just general, like, and I guess the comments of he's a grown man and he shouldn't be getting trash talked is sort of the pinnacle of that, where it's like it's not a generation of competitors anymore. It's just basketball players who just go out and play a game, to like, again, kind of cliche to say, but like back in the 80s, it wasn't as much of a game as it was like just a hard fought like competition. The difference between the two, where it's like kind of going out for fun versus going out to like to win and to do it. So I can totally see where Paul would take all his frustrations out on this generation out on LeBron, and I would kind of like to see that as well.
Yeah.
Let me clarify to say the Wizards would have absolutely no chance in that series, but that would be a fun thing to watch.
Yeah. especially with the John Wall injury. That's kind of a coup de grace for them. Yeah, my favorite players around the league are those who are mentally made up like Paul, who have that mentality of I don't want to play with you, I just want to beat you, and I want to like stay with my team and ride it out and everything. Paul's like that, KG's like that, Kobe's like that. There are a couple, not many, but there are a couple people scattered throughout the league who kind of still are wired like that, but the majority
I think
is
Russ is like that. If we're gonna add another name to it, as sort of a give
fair.
young guys some props. I think Russ has that.
Very fair, yeah. Russ is definitely like that. And I want to say Barkley or somebody who like talked about a long time or a little while ways back when everybody was coming together and forming these big threes and whatnot. I think you were saying like I would have never wanted to play with Michael Jordan and Karl Malone because I didn't want to play. I wanted to beat those guys. I didn't want to play with them. I wanted to beat them outright. And that attitude is sort of gone from the league, and that's my least favorite part about the NBA in this day and age. Is that it's too much buddy ball. I hate buddy ball. I hate let's just all meet up in one city and just tear the league a new one. I don't know.
And we're talking 3 years from now. The three people you just mentioned are probably not going to be in the league anymore, and Kobe, KG, and Paul. So you're going to be left with a league of soft, honestly, a league of people who grew up in a league where the fouls to basically prevent someone from scoring a layup are now hard fouls, and unless you wrap the guy up by his arms and you never ever come anywhere near from his collarbone up, like that's a hard foul now. So like it's not gonna get any better. I mean, granted, you can't just go back to the old rules. There need to be some sort of happy balance between Kevin McHale clotheslining someone and not getting called for even a personal foul, and the leg lock that happened last night to get Taj Gibson thrown out of a game. You gotta find a medium between the two of them, but it's not going to get any better, and that's unfortunate. And I think that's going to be a big thing to overcome in the next couple of years. You have to find people that are hyper competitive, and those are the teams that are, I think, going to succeed. A team like Duncan, I can never see Duncan never leaving the Spurs, but also like never going somewhere just for the sake of playing either with his buddies or playing to win a champion, like jumping ship just to win a championship. I mean, another guy that's just fiercely competitive and will stick with his guys. And if the guys are on his team, the guys are on his team. If not, we can be friends we can be friends in the off season, but it's sort of that win at all cost mentality, hyper competitive, that is just going to be completely missing in 5 years. You can add Doug into the list of people who won't be in the league in 5 years to add that. Parker the same way, Ginobili the same way. You're going to be left with a league of LeBrons, of like him as much as I do John Walls. Yeah. Guys that just like grew up playing with each other and kind of just enjoy playing basketball, which is cool. I like to see that they enjoy playing basketball, but it's more the playing and less the winning basketball games, in my opinion, from what I see from these guys.
Yeah. The
This got deep quick, huh?
Yeah. We got real serious with that all of a sudden. Yeah, that's why I'm all in on Boogie Cousins being the savior. I feel like he hates everybody. So
a great example there.
Yeah, so he might have
to a point. Rondo kind of has that too.
Oh, Rondo definitely does. Rondo just kind of played himself out of my.
That's his fault. Exactly.
Yeah, right. So Rondo has been carrying that torch. That's why I was in love with Rondo for the longest time, because he plays exactly like that. Like, I don't care. I'm going to beat you. I'm going to beat you under the brightest of lights too, and just embarrass you. And I don't have to be your friend. I mean, he said it 1,000 times. Like, I got 2 friends in the league. It's Kendrick and Josh Smith, and that's it. Like, I mean, he said that multiple times, and I love that mentality. Not that everybody has to be like.
Unfortunately, carries over to his teammates and his coach as well, but
Right. Sacrifices will be made. But God, I'm gonna be bummed out when there's no more KG, Paul, or Kobe in the league. But we'll see. Hopefully, some new people will emerge and fuel the fire. But
we'll keep check on the ongoing game here. It's tied at 78 with about 30 seconds left. Looks like the Wiz have the ball.
Okay. Okay, cool. Um, yep, okay, I feel you. All right, so let me see. Um, yeah, let's talk about that. I was very upset to see them throw out Taj Gibson last night. That's nonsensical. I mean, Dellavedova, just kind of a little cheesy move there, and maybe maybe Taj shouldn't reacted that hard like that, but that's a normal reaction. I mean, you're trying to. If I'm 7 foot tall and somebody's trying to trip me and make me fall from that height, I'm probably pretty pissed too. Like, because there's a lot of things that can happen from getting from here to there to the floor. Like, you could turn something, you could step, you could try to catch your balance, step on somebody, and turn the ankle and all that sort of shit. But I was kind of surprised they called a flagrant 2 and threw him out. That seemed a little harsh to me.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if I can catch it real quick because I only saw it half asleep last night on Sports Center, but I did see they gave Dellavedova a technical today, which is another thing. Like, just let it be. Just it happened. It's over. They decided to throw Taj Gibson out in the moment. Don't assign these post-mortem technicals to feel like you're getting a harder stance in the league, because all that's going to do is prevent things we're talking about. It's just going to get less competitive because you can't do anything without getting a technical foul now.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a pickup game bush league play by Dellavedova. I mean, he clearly instigated that, like you said. I'm watching it right now. Clearly instigated by Dellavedova. Taj maybe took it a step far.
They're just having a reaction.
Shocker, J.R. Smith gets in the middle of it, right? But
yeah.
It's just like that's a bush league play to begin with, and like, it's just though I don't have a lot else to say because I'm just going to repeat myself over and over again by saying it's just going to get softer. But that's just the type of play that just happens, and it's just like, ooh, look at me now. It's a shoving match, and look at me. I kicked you like a little girl, and I'm going to kick you back. It's just like, come on, settle this stuff differently. There's no ways to do it. It's just let hard fouls be hard fouls, and there won't need to be chippiness like that, in my opinion. If you set a standard of hard fouls can be hard fouls, as long as you're not being malicious and like really trying to hurt them. If they're going up for a layup and you don't want them to score, sometimes all you can do is basically tackle the person. And like, if we're going to create a league where basically free layups, you can't even touch them, might as well just let them score, then what's the point of playing defense? It's going to be like the NFL. You got to give the defender some advantage, and if the advantage is being able to wrap someone up and not let him get a free 2 points and make him earn it at the free throw line, let it happen.
Yeah, I'm with you. And related to such, how have you been dealing with the hack-a-shack that's been going on so prevalently in these Clippers-Warriors games and scattered a little bit throughout, but mainly we're having a hack-a-shack series right now with Dwight and DeAndre. It's added too much time.
Exactly. My biggest problem with it is just how, like, I mean, sensically, it's a smart baseball. Almost a baseball. It's a smart basketball play, similar to fouling at the end of the games. It makes smart sense in terms of what you're trying to do to win the game. But what kills it is the pace of play. These games are now just grueling, and it's just hard to watch those two try to shoot free throws 50 times a game. So that needs to be fixed, because otherwise, that's just going to be getting.
Yeah. I don't know how you fix it, but I think it'll be one of the main things the league goes back and looks at this summer. Because I think I heard on the radio or something today that like the Clippers maybe had 60 free throws in last night's game or something. 60 is far and away too many free throws to make the fans watch. And I mean, it's not like it's too much of a misery, because there is a strategy behind it, and obviously we get the motive to do it, but it's just an ugly product at that point, and you don't want that. I mean, we need to improve on that going forward, I think. So hopefully they can figure out a way to get off from under that problem, because it's a problem right now.
realistically, the only way to make off-ball fouls, either retain possession or make them 3 shots. You have to do something to make it a disadvantage to do that, other than they shoot 2 free throws and we'll see what happens. That'd be the only way to do it. We'll make it a technical, similar like a 3 in the defensive 3 in the key. You make it like an automatic team technical foul or whatever. I don't know what you do, but there needs to be. That's the only fix. What else can you do? Tell teams not to do that. Like, what does that do? It just you make it a harsher penalty.
Right. Yeah, I think some definitely has to be done, and I think they'll get it. They'll figure out a way. Adam Silver is pretty smart. They'll hopefully figure out how to weed that out a little bit better. So let me see here. I'm trying to think if there's any other glaring things that are happening around the association that I wanted to touch on. Okay, let me just give me your predictions for the East and West. Who do you think is going to come out? Because we're at pretty much
just went final, by the way. Atlanta just beat.
Ooh.
Atlanta just won by 1.
Wow. Damn. Okay. Interesting. So that might sway your answer. Who do we think is going to come out and be in the Eastern Conference Finals and the Western Conference Finals?
I mean, before tonight, I would have said Atlanta anyways. I think that the Wiz are fun, and they've gotten a big boost from just having Paul, I think, on the team, and sort of a little resurgence from the 2 big guys in Gortat and Nene, whatever. So I think that well is going to run dry at some point. There's only so much you can do, especially with Wall going down. I mean, there's nothing on that bench. Otto Porter. I think Otto Porter at one point tonight was the only person on their bench that had a point. So that bench is just bone dry. And Atlanta's a good team. We talked about this before. They're solid. They hit a little rut in that first round. I don't know what happened in that first round. That should not have been that close. I think they played down to Brooklyn. And I think Washington came in with a lot of confidence. They just kicked and kicked and kicked the Raptors while they were down just repeatedly, and it was amazing. It was great to watch, and I loved it. So they, a little confidence, a little swagger going into. Obviously, they had Paul to kind of pump them up and get these guys to know what it's like to win a playoff series and get through the next series. That sort of thing, I think, is underrated, and I think it can't really be overstated at the same time. But there's only so much you can do when you have a team that just doesn't have a bench and just is going to rely on your top talent to win, especially when one of your top talent has a broken hand.
Yeah.
So I like the Hawks for tonight. I like them obviously even more now to come out of that. I think that the Bulls are going to win tomorrow night. I think they're going to make it a 7-game series, but Game 7s are so tough to predict. I do ultimately think it'll be Cleveland. That's so boring, but I do ultimately think that it'll be Cleveland taking that. And then why don't we give you a chance to say what's going on in the finals, then I'll make my pick for the ECF after that.
For the West, do you want me to go with the West first?
No, give me your East first.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna say the Wall injury is too much to come back from. I think they're doing well, considering, but I think something weird happened with Atlanta, whether it's like you said, they were playing down to the Nets, or also they had injury problems and they had the Millsap shoulder thing. Horford wasn't right.
Cephalosha that hurt too.
Cephalosha with the ribs. So I think now they might be kind of coming back to form a little bit. And if they're starting to hit a stride, the same sort of stride they hit in the regular season, then that's exactly when you want to be turning that on. So I'm going to go with Atlanta. And it's so tough in that other series. That one's going to go 7 with the Bulls and the Cavaliers. I'm saying the Cavs are kind of beat up right now. I don't want to say you're welcome, everybody, but the Celtics had a little bit of a hand in that, even if it was just only the quick 4 games. I mean, the Kevin Love thing happens in the Celtics series. The J.R. Smith thing happens in the Celtics series, which made him have to take time away for the suspension. Kyrie isn't really right now. He might only be operating at like 50%. We've heard ad nauseum LeBron's ailments and greatness. Anyway, so they're kind of a bit broken right now. I mean, they're still playing well, but I have a feeling that if they get through the Bulls, which I think is a tall order, they're still going to be limping a bit going into the ECF. And I don't love what Joakim Noah is doing, but I just love the rest of the Bulls. I really am so thrilled for Derrick Rose and how he's kind of come back a little bit. That bank buzzer beater got me so hyped. I can't even explain to you how happy I was. I was at like the Harp next to the TD Garden, and I was watching it live from the bar, and I was stoked for him because he's one of the good guys, I think. And you see his kid the next day, or like in the post game interview. Oh, the kid with the look of the year. I'm gonna have to look it up right now. He throws up this awesome face in the post game interview with Derek. It's not showing me so easily where it's at. Anyway, I'm really happy for. Oh, here we go. I'm really happy for Derrick Rose. Jimmy Butler. I'm gonna come back to Jimmy Butler a little bit later. But Jimmy Butler's been playing like definitely a max guy, playing out of his mind. And I from what I hear about Jimmy Butler, he's like a charismatic like personality in the room, which I'm always down for. I'm just gonna give you Derrick Rose's kid's face, just like
That's awesome.
Yeah. So hard not to root for that. In full Cubs garb too. That's pretty sweet. Yeah, happy for Derrick Rose. It seems to be like a nice mix of old Derrick and new Derrick. Like you see flashes of his MVP life and kind of the new, smarter Derrick. So happy for that team. It's a coin flip though. Like, I guess gun in my head, I'm gonna say Cleveland. Because of like home court, and that's it. But I think it'll be longest answer ever. It'll be Atlanta, Cleveland. Yeah.
All right. I've had some time now. I think I've capitulated my thought. But,
I'm definitely giving you some
time. I think. Get the horn ready here. So. If we have if it ends up being Bulls Hawks, I think the Bulls come out.
Okay.
If it ends up being Atlanta Cleveland, I think Atlanta comes out.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a hot take for hedging.
Yeah. Okay.
I like the way Rose is playing right now. Like you said, I've seen some flashes, some real good things that I didn't expect to see this season. I think we talked about this right when he went out. We never expected him to come back, and if he came back, he needed to be a Derrick Rose we thought he could be. And I didn't expect to see it this soon. I've seen it a couple times in the series. Just like you, I was laying on my couch when he hit that shot, and I like actually yelled. Wasn't even expecting to yell, but it was like just one of those like just completely like reaction, like a yelp.
Yeah.
That was awesome. Yeah. So that was pretty awesome. Like I said, I think the Bulls are going to win tomorrow night anyways. And then you get into a game 7, and I don't know, be an expert all you want. It's hard to predict game 7s. Granted it's in Cleveland, but I don't think that really matters to a team like the Bulls. You know, it's one of those teams where it's like they've been in the moment. Derrick Rose has been there a couple times. You know, Gasol, if he plays, has been there too many times, and you know, Joe Kim obviously isn't really a guy that gives too much of a shit about an opposing crowd. So I think it's a tough one to predict, but I do think if the Bulls can get out of that and get past Cleveland, I think that they match up nicely in a favorable way to the Bulls with Atlanta, and I think they'll take them. Whereas I think you're right. The more I think about it, the Cavs are beat up, and I think if the Hawks can take them, they shoot obviously particularly well. They move the ball. They have that unselfish style that always seems to stifle LeBron for some reason. When you think about the Spurs and you think about teams that he played, the Celtics back in the day, the teams that are just very unselfish seem to stifle him a lot. I'm not sure. I'm sure if you look back and went through and you categorize all the teams, you would probably find it's just a random trend that I'm thinking. But like things that are in top of my head, really the unselfish teams seem to really stifle him. And if Kyrie's not himself and Kevin Love's obviously out, then you're relying on people like J.R. Smith to hit huge shots again after again, which I think is just that well is going to run dry at some point. And Delladova's been getting some serious minutes, and I think that he'll get eaten alive at some point as well. So that's how I'm going to softly back my way into saying I'll say Bulls if the Bulls are there, but the likely scenario would be Hawks, Cavs, and I think the Hawks come out of that one.
Interesting. I won't be mad at that either. Like if we're watching the Hawks in the finals, I don't mind that. I think they've earned it, and they're still a fun team to watch. They're like like a Spurs remix. So if you like watching good basketball, you should be able to appreciate what Coach Bud and the Hawks are doing. So, and that's like what the Celtics want to aspire to. So, I would like to see a little bit of like foreshadowing in terms of like what we hope we could be. West, I'll say I'm still riding with the Warriors, even though first team all defense has been giving them hell, and they've been playing.
He's not
real
playing tonight.
Oh, he's not?
No.
Interesting. Okay. All right. So I think, Steph has had a weird series, but it was bound to happen. Like he was bound to slow down somewhere. And I don't think the slowdown will last very long. I mean, he just put up 33 the other night, so he could be rounding the base and coming back to form. But that team plays defense like a motherfucker. So, I mean, it's not totally out of the realm to think like this is going on with Steph and Clay and everybody, but I heard Clay's been pissed about the way they've been guarding him, just that he can't get shots off and whatever. It's been frustrating, but I'm still going to ride with the Warriors. I think they're going to go home and, feel the resurgency from the crowd and dig in and be able to get it done. So Warriors and the Clippers. Which I'm praying that happens because those two teams hate each other. And I'm pulling for the Warriors anyway, and I think the Warriors have the Clippers number. The Clippers could be the story of the playoffs with, that Game 7, nuts. Didn't see it because I was wasting time with the friggin' Floyd Mayweather-Pacquiao fight. But the way that they've, gotten, like, slayed the giant in the Spurs and gotten over that hump, it's given them like out of this world confidence against the Rockets, and they've been playing as such. Namely, Blake Griffin. Blake Griffin has been like a magician out there, creating like a point guard. We've been seeing bits and pieces of Chris Paul because of injuries, but Chris Paul's greatness is undeniable, obviously. So I think the Clippers are rolling right now, and they'll make it to the Western Conference as well.
I'm having a hard time picking the Golden State Memphis series.
Ooh,
this is just.
Oh, just all right. We just lost Barry. I guess the internet gods didn't like that take. Let's get him back here, folks. Sorry for the brief interruption. As you can tell from my shirt, basketball never stops, but apparently this podcast does when Google Hangout wants to kick my co-host off the air, but we'll have him back any moment. Here he comes now. There you go.
The worst.
I was doing station identification and all this other bullshit, but anyway, I guess that take was too hot, and they just kicked you off the stove.
Google was like, not today.
Google, yeah, because they're probably Warriors fans. So,
guys, PSA: when you hit the little X on the tab, it closes the tab.
Yeah, Internet 101, tough. It's rough life out here.
All right, let's get back to melting some faces here. Memphis Golden State is a tough one for me to pick. I think that the Warriors have run into. I'm looking through the team. Probably the worst matchup for them in terms of how they're going to get played, and Memphis knows what they're doing with them, the way they're handling them, and the way they're playing defense. Like you said, Clay's having a tough time getting shots off, and it's one of those things where the Grizzlies know how to play defense in general and know how to play the Warriors, and it's also the thing we kind of alluded to. I think last time we talked. I mean, when you shoot and you're good, you're great. You know, when you're a shooting team and you're shooting well, everything's going great. But as soon as that shooting kind of goes away, if that's what you rely on, it can be a tough thing to get back quickly, especially in a series like this, and B to kind of overcome and to transform yourself from a shooting team to something else. And obviously that's where Golden State's made its money all year, and they've been unbelievably successful at it. But I read a couple articles, people saying that maybe they got their swagger back last game. I didn't see anything that really points me to say that they completely got everything they had lost in the previous two games back. So that's what concerns me about just saying I think Golden State wins 2 of the next 3. I don't know what the score is now, so I hope I'm not being soft here. But I think if Memphis ends up winning tonight, obviously going up 3-2, I don't see a jump shooting team being able to win 2 straight against a team that knows how to play them on defense.
Yeah.
Kind of an easy take there, but like that's just the way it is. I think it's just that stark contrast of like the supreme offensive team. Granted, the Warriors are incredible defensive this year too, so don't say that they're just that one-trick pony offensive team. But obviously they're known for how well they shoot and how many points they score. That's sort of their calling card. It's sort of that when that great offense meets that great defense, and the outcome is typically a great series. First of all, low scoring, and I don't think that behooves the success for the Warriors. So I'm going to take Memphis. I think I'm going to take Memphis coming out of that. I think they win tonight, and I think they, regardless whether they win 6 or 7, I think they win. I think that probably if they win tonight, I think they'll probably go back home and close it out on Friday. So I'm going to take Memphis there. The other one, I'm just so. I want to say I'm disappointed in the Rockets, but I think that I saw this coming. I mean, they got a pretty easy matchup in that first round. I think we both talked about how that was the round that Harden could really take over because no one was going to check him on Dallas. That's exactly what happened. He really didn't need much else to happen around him to be able to be successful, and I think they cleaned up in that series well. And then was that the championship to them? Like, why have they not shown up yet in this round? Like, why was that game 1 so bad? Why was that game 3 so bad? You know, where have the Rockets gone? I truly did they. I don't know if they didn't realize that the series didn't end after the season didn't end after the first series. But there's no excuse to get your fucking tail whipped game 1, and then 3 and 4 just get embarrassed. Those 2 games were disgusting.
Yeah.
Just gross. I don't know what happened to the Clippers last night. That was pretty embarrassing along the same lines. I don't know. You can't be showing a team up like that and then all of a sudden lay your own egg. Doesn't really make for a compelling reason for me to think that all of a sudden the Clippers are over their little hump, which I don't think they are.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Still, so if we're gonna take it a step further, whoever wins that Golden State Memphis series, which I think is gonna be Memphis, you think is gonna be Golden State. I think whoever comes out of that goes into the finals. I don't see if the Rockets somehow miraculously win the next 2 and end up winning the series, or if the Clippers end up closing it out. both those teams they've just shown me exactly what I didn't need to see, or exactly what I needed to see to be confident that they're not going to do anything special.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think your take on whoever wins the Grizzlies Warriors will move on. Namely, I'm thinking because if the Grizz win, they're going to be riding a high like you couldn't believe going into the Western Conference Finals. And if the Warriors win against Memphis, they're going to have like gone through a real battle-tested opponent, and everything else I think will kind of feel like gravy. So I think those two teams are better positioned to go into the Western Conference and take it and move into the finals. But that's good. I like that you're thinking Memphis. I'm thinking Golden State. So cool. You want to talk briefly about the Celtics offseason, and then we can do in and out, in or out?
You want to do that here? Because I have a lot. That might be better save for a later date.
Okay. What, in or out or Celtics?
No, the Celtics offseason.
Okay.
With some of the most recent rumors swirling around, I think that's a topic that's going to take some time, and I kind of want to personally let those rumors digest a little bit, or sort of play out a tiny bit before I hop on them.
Are we talking about the Pacific Northwest?
Any team out there, any team out on the West Coast, one that wears purple, one that wears black and red.
Yeah.
Yes, that one is one of the more absurd ones. I really don't even want to get into it. I feel like my boy Isherod was just making shit up. Personally,
I feel like he was trolling me specifically. Yeah. When I heard it was from Isherod, like, all right, Isherod, props to Isherod, but I don't necessarily jump all over something Isherod says. So who knows? I think
sounds like something. It sounds like something he had heard, maybe like or you know what I mean? It sounds like something he had heard that there's absolutely no meat to, but like, I didn't see this. Still haven't seen the segment. From what I understand, it was like sort of like a what are the probabilities that this happens? Like just sort of one of those like first take kind of like hacky news segment type of things.
Yeah.
So from what I understand, he said like, 45% chance that they acquire LaMarcus Aldridge or something like that. So I feel like no, I to say he made that shit up is too strong. I think that he's been pretty good. He's proven to be a pretty reliable NBA guy. So that feels to me though something that like someone like gave to him in passing, like a friend of a friend of a friend told him that,
yeah,
Kevin Pritchard called Danny Ainge or whatever. Actually, I don't even know if Pritchard's still the GM of the Blazers. I don't think he is. Danny Ainge called the Blazers and asked them. It sounds like something real light. I think more likely, if we're going to get into this a tiny bit, I think there's a bigger conversation later, but if we're going to get a tiny bit, I think more likely is that I think actually Kevin Love is still pretty likely in terms of if we're going to talk about getting a big name player. I think it's Kevin Love. And then I think it's DeMarcus Cousins in terms of what they can do. Just throwing tons of draft picks at Sacramento, a team that feels like they have their coach now. You would think they have their coach, and they have this crazy owner who kind of wants to do things in a kind of innovative, crazy but innovative, I guess is a nice way to put it. This crazy way. So I think that's a team that would take like 4 or 5 draft picks and sort of like that's what we're going to build off of. We're going to do it this way. And just get away from Boogie Cousins. That's nothing constructive's coming out of that anymore. I don't want to see him. I want to see him on the Celtics just for the fact that I don't want to see him in Sacramento ruin his career anymore.
Yeah. I want to see him in the playoffs. I want to see him playing competitively. I want to see him. To me, Boogie has the highest ceiling of anybody that we're talking about here, and I'm throwing in Aldridge. I'm throwing in Kevin Love. I think Boogie is like this crown jewel or diamond in the rough, more likely that it's just you get him and you put him in the right system and it's game over. He's a force. He's like top 3 center, if not higher. Could be like we could be looking at a world where it's him and Anthony Davis and everybody else is just par for the course. But so we don't have to. I mean, you and I both love Boogie more than life. The Portland thing, But you heard about the second component of the Portland thing, right? The second player.
With Wes Matthews as well, yeah. Which I think actually makes that a touch more unrealistic.
You think so? Yeah. Well, it's yeah. Well, it's definitely we're talking about a whole nother body, a whole nother personality to have to agree. So it definitely is makes it harder and more unrealistic. But that is definitely more appealing to me if we get both of those guys, because Wes Matthews, for anybody's money, might be one of the best, like top 5, top 3 shooters in the league. So I think he's a real commodity that would be great to have as well. The Kevin Love thing is definitely on the table. I mean, we've talked about how, for whatever reason, recently he likes to just come to Boston and hang out. So if that's happening, then who knows? Like, he could want to come and hang out permanently and maybe like get an apartment with Kelly Olynyk and not be, bitter rivals anymore. But
did you see the Wooch piece after the series about how that was like sort of a somewhat well kept secret, but it wasn't. It was becoming a less of a well kept secret. Like how much time Kevin Love was spending in Boston, and how he was telling people like all along it has been the Lakers, but now it's like slowly feeling himself in Boston. Did you?
I didn't see Woj's piece specifically, but I remember I first saw the news drop from like Kevin Paul DuPont, who I think is the Bruins guy.
He is.
And he was talking about how I think it was like before Game 3 happened, like we should all really cheer for Kevin Love anytime he touches the ball, because he could maybe end up coming here for these reasons, and laid out his visits and whatever. And I remember I tweeted you, because Kevin Love had like the best game of his playoffs in Game 3, and like lit us up for like 28 points or something, and was shooting the ball real well. And I was like, oh, I guess he really likes shooting the ball in our arena. Maybe we should make this a thing. So I don't know. Of those 3 scenarios, Kevin Love. Let's say this: Kevin Love, LaMarcus, or Boogie. Which one would you pick?
If I had to pick of them.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. Kevin Love wouldn't cost us anything, because in that scenario, he'd be opting out, right? So he'd cost us money, but we'd just be signing him. Yeah. I would want Boogie. I think Boogie, if I'm the GM, I don't think there's a price too high. So I'd want Boogie. I think he fits better in terms of what we need. But it'd be nice if we could we're talking about getting Kevin Love and then using those draft picks elsewhere and getting someone else to be a defensive force and kind of be the rim protector that we need.
Yeah, that's true. I
don't think the Portland thing is feasible. I'm sort of shutting that off in my mind.
Okay, it's probably smart. Yeah, I think I feel like you can, like, Boogie should be better on D than he is. I feel like with Boogie, it's like a lack of giving a shit on defense, which I think could be fixed. And Brad's pretty good at fixing that sort of stuff, especially with like younger guys. He's still like 24 years old, so I think he kind of falls under the umbrella of like the Brad Stevens whisperer type of guys that Brad kind of connects with. But I'm gonna go with Boogie too, just because of the stuff I said earlier. But I think he's got the highest ceiling. I don't care about the off the court stuff. I know it's probably the biggest gamble of all of them. It's probably smart to not think about Portland, even though I like the Portland idea as well. But we could talk. We'll definitely do a whole separate off-season show. But we got to do something this summer. Like, we got to get one piece this summer. I think it's got to happen.
You have to.
Yeah, we can't have another year of like player development and overachieving into the playoffs a little bit. Like, we got to get somebody. So, we'll talk about it more later on, though. So, you want to do in or out?
Yeah.
Okay. In or Out, sponsored by In or Out Burger, In and Out Burger. We're soon going to be flashing their graphic and doing a whole bunch of copyright infringement and illegal shit on the show soon. So I'm going to give you a kind of a recent occurrence in or out first. In or out on Monty Williams losing his job in New Orleans?
In.
Okay.
I think he would stifle Anthony Davis's growth. I don't think he does enough for him on offense. I have nothing else to say. I think Monty Williams isn't really the right fit for that anymore. I was actually going to bring this up earlier, so I'm glad you did now. The most intriguing thing would be if this Thibodeau Bulls situation goes the way it seems like another bad kept secret it's going, and all of a sudden we see Thibodeau coach Anthony Davis, which I don't even want to think about a world where the defensive master is coaching just this mammoth of a human being in Anthony Davis.
Yeah. The defensive Jedi or the league, yeah. Yeah, that would be great. I'm in on Monty getting the boot too. I think he's kind of overstayed his welcome on that team. I don't think he's a bad coach. I mean, he did some good stuff. I mean, he kind of helped them for the most part transition from the Chris Paul to the Anthony Davis era. I just think maybe that was more luck than anything else. I don't know if it's totally his doing, but for my money, that Pelicans job is the hottest coaching job in the game right now, especially with the Oklahoma City job being filled by Billy Donovan. So I'm sure every coach around the league is jumping at the chance to coach Anthony Davis. So, cool. That's one. Do you got one, or you want me to give you another?
No, give me another.
Okay. Okay. In or out on Jimmy Butler edging out Kawhi Leonard at this stage?
In terms of like their rank?
Yeah. Like, or just like down the road future, or they're two very similar guys in my mind. They play like sort of similar positioning. They're both like the same age. They both seem to be like the new guard. And Jimmy's been playing on, fantastic lately, and he's actually still playing. Not to say that makes Kawhi any less great, but I've heard from some circles that Jimmy Butler is, kind of the darling lately. Are you in or out on him being the darling over Kawhi right now?
Out. I think Kawhi is tremendous. Not that Jimmy Butler isn't. I think it's kind of a shame we didn't get to see more of Kawhi in the playoffs this year. Obviously, we saw it last year. It would have been great to see how he followed that up if they had just had a little bit more to get by in that first round. No, I'm out on that. I love Kawhi.
Yeah, I'm out too. I think when you have the NBA's most improved player up against the reigning MVP of the finals, we're talking Kawhi here. We're going with Kawhi. I really like Jimmy Butler's game. I think he has even more room to grow. But I think what Kawhi does on defense is something otherworldly. Only comes along every 5 years. The offensive game is pretty good too. It'll continue to develop. But I think the package of Kawhi, his demeanor and makeup, and he's already been there in big games and won it all. So it's Kawhi for me.
Yeah, it's sort of like if we're talking about, I think Jimmy Butler's in a great situation right now. Sort of like he's in a good place. He's in a good. I think Tibbs is a great coach. And I think that, having Derrick Rose obviously doesn't hurt anyone. I would, if we're going to compare the two of them, I should definitely qualify this. If we're going to compare the two of them, take them both out of their respective teams and their respective systems, I think Kawhi has a better chance to be the same level of successful than Jimmy Butler. Again, hard to say that because I don't want it to sound like, oh, Jimmy Butler would suck if you put him on a different team. I think he'd still be great. But if we're going to compare the two of them directly, I think taking Kawhi off the Spurs, putting him on a different team, he is just as successful as he is now in terms of people seeing how well he can play versus taking Jimmy Butler and putting him on a different team. I think Jimmy would still be good. I don't think he'd be as great as he is right now, and I don't think he'd be getting the attention he's getting right now in terms of just because he's playing with such a great team. I think that Kawhi is sort of one that would bring the attention on himself no matter where he is because he's just really, really superb.
Right. Good. I'm with it. Yeah.
You got one more?
Let me see. Did I have one more?
I got a hot one for you if you want it.
Yeah, give me your hot one first, and we'll.
All right. In or out, David Blatt, regardless of the outcome of the season, only coaching one season with the Cavs.
Yeah, I'm in on that. I think the LeBron James thing has infected the Cavaliers too strongly. I think he's getting more and more outright in kind of undercutting what Blatt draws up, and like we talked about earlier, and I think it's like LeBron is in charge over there from like the top down. I feel as if he took those 2 weeks off earlier in the beginning of the season, and he just calls the shots. So I think he's going to try to call the shots on the next coach next year, which is not fair to David Blatt at all. And I think David Blatt it'd be kind of funny to see like let's say Tibbs got the axe and Blatt got the axe, and Blatt moves over to Chicago and just like makes LeBron's life hell. That would be awesome. But I feel as if Blatt going is a forgotten conclusion at this point, and it's undeservedly so.
Yeah. So I'm out with the caveat of anything less than I think a championship. I think he's done. I think if you win the finals, it's so hard to justify firing your coach after you get him to come over from Europe. Like it's just poor business and poor basketball. You get this guy to come over after a lifetime in Europe. You get him to finally come over to the United States. You surround him with literally the best talent you could possibly surround him with, and he leads you to a championship. So doing exactly what you think you should do, especially in Cleveland, that's an underrated thing. Like he gets that first championship in Cleveland in how many years, and then you fire him. I don't see that happening. I can totally see them either getting bounced. If they get bounced this round, I think he'll get fired tomorrow. I think he'll get fired retroactively to today, actually. I think he'll get fired on Friday, retroactive to Wednesday, so he will officially not have been coach for that series. But, yeah, I think anything short of a championship, definitely if they lose this round. I think if they lose next round, I think they'd still find a way to get out of it. If you get to the finals and you lose, it's an interesting scenario, but I do think that ultimately ends in his firing. So I'm out with the caveat that he gets fired except if he wins a championship. So the one interesting thing, I'm going to float two names to you in this world that David Blatt gets fired. I'm going to float Scotty Brooks, and I'm going to float John Calipari, who was hot after the Cavs job last year before they hired Blatt.
I think it would more likely be Calipari because of his interest. The fact that I think the Cleveland ownership would want to be like kind of flashy a little bit in the New York Jets kind of a way, but I'm willing to give you a third option and present the promotion of Tyronn Lue. And have him, because
a second one,
just because from what I've been hearing, and I'm sure you've heard similar things too. Like a lot of the time, the huddle is being run by LeBron and Ty Lue.
Yeah.
So they're already working like in synchronization. I feel as if LeBron's going to be like, make Ty Lue the head coach, and we'll run it together, and we'll be fine. So I think that's going to be LeBron's choice, unless he knows something we don't, and he doesn't think Tyronn Lue's ready. But I feel as if Blatt's out and Ty Lue, if I had to put money on like something, that would be my guess. But Cal Parr is not very far either, just because he's like a great player type of whisperer, and definitely has all the sexiness of a new coach hire. So yeah.
I like Calipari because he is going to have the personality to match. He's going to have the personality to match, to both manage and match LeBron, I guess, is the way to put that. Blatt, I think, obviously the big knock is he's just so soft and he kind of lets LeBron do whatever he wants, for better or for worse.
Mm-hmm.
I think Calipari, obviously, given what he's kind of built in Kentucky, he's not afraid to take on sort of the big talent, big ego type of players, and he's done pretty damn well, honestly. For that much turnover to kind of turn these teams into cohesive units, I think has been pretty impressive in the college ranks. So I think that if he comes over, it's a good fit for that team. A lot of personalities to manage, lots of talent, which is like he's used to handling lots of talent. Unlike Blatt, who I think is just used to being a good coach and just getting the most out of players. I don't think that was a good scenario for him in terms of the these three stratospheres are, I think, each time. So I like Calipari for that reason. I like Scotty Brooks for the reason that he's done that before. He's handled the superstars. Kind of up for debate to see how well he's done it, because I think it'd be interesting to see how Billy Donovan does with that team next year, in terms of if it really was Scotty Brooks' fault, or if that team is just not built very well, if the injuries were ultimately the downfall, whatever it may be. So I think those two are good names for that reason, that you're going to need someone. If you're going to fire Blatt for not being a coach enough for LeBron, you need to bring in someone that's going to be able to kind of like wrangle LeBron up a little bit. I think the worst thing they could do, I don't disagree that I think Ty Lue, that's a good point that could happen. I think the worst thing you can do if they don't win a championship is bring in Ty Lue, another guy that's going to kind of bend to LeBron and let LeBron do whatever he wants, because it clearly hasn't worked. Didn't work this year. And I think when Spoelstra kind of got his wings underneath him in Miami is when they really started to flourish a little bit. When Spoelstra actually started to become the coach a little bit more than he was the first season, is when that team kind of hit their stride the same way.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. I think. Can you tell we have sound effects?
I wanted the controversy horn. I don't know where it is though.
That's sad trombone. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'll give you. It's kind of related to a topic that we talked about earlier, but in or out on the Sacramento Kings drafting one of the centers at number 6.
Ooh, I have no. You go first. I don't know.
So I'll give you the thought process. In a lot of mock drafts right now, they're slated to take Willie Cauley-Stein.
Okay.
And there are a few other good ones behind him. The center position in this draft is pretty damn good. We've got we've got Karl Towns, who's probably going to go number 1 overall. Jahlil Okafor, very likely to go number 2 overall. Then we got Willie Cauley-Stein. Later on, we have Kristaps Porzingis, who's probably more of a power forward. Frank Kaminsky is being projected like number 11 right now. Miles Turner, the kid out of Texas, is projected number 12. There's a lot of centers in there. And one of them falls right to the Sacramento Kings. So I am going to be in on that. because I think the front office there is just kind of too nutty. I think they're last year when they crowd sourced, their draft pick. Did you see this? Like
I
Vivek
don't
and
think so. No.
oh, they brought in like fans to give their opinions, and like they picked the best ones to run like analysis and stuff, and they pretty much picked Stauskas for the Kings. And the front office was like, okay, yeah, the presentation was good. We'll pick Stauskas, and they end up picking him for the most part. So I think after that having happened last year, they're just going to go like best available, and best available will probably just because of like kind of the calamity of last year, and best available very likely could be a center. So I think it's kind of likely that they could end up with a center, making my hope of all hopes, Boogie Cousins coming to Boston more likely. But I'm probably a little biased in this in or out. But what do you think of that? You didn't know about the that weird draft move of last year, huh?
No, I did not. It's the first time I've heard of that. I don't know how I missed that one.
There was
I'm going to say I'm out because I just, as much as I want them to, I don't think they're going to trade. They're going to trade Boogie, and if it seems like that spot is a spot they get, they can get a center. I think they'll trade back and they'll pick up something else that they need. And at the same time, they're so crazy that I don't even think them picking a center would necessarily be in anticipation of them moving Boogie, because they're just fucking crazy. I mean, you really can't have too much size, especially in the West. That it doesn't hurt them to have two good centers, but I don't. Any normal team, you would think like, oh, similar to the Celtics, they drafted Marcus Smart, and everyone was like, oh, it doesn't really necessarily mean the end of Rondo, but it clearly did. That was clearly the plan all along, was to draft Marcus Smart to sort of fill that void and sort of bridge the gap between Rondo and the next guy. So logical teams, you would say, okay, they pick Cauley Stein, pick Cauley Stein or one of the other guys. That would be the end of the Boogie era in Sacramento, but I don't even think that's it. So I'm gonna say out because I think that they'll trade back, because I don't think they're gonna trade Boogie.
Okay. Cool. Is that
they really crowdsourced their fucking draft?
Yeah. There's like a video segment on it too. Somebody definitely go find that. You got one? You got another, or we go down in or out?
I have no other ones.
Okay. I think we're probably pressed for time anyway. So, the draft stuff we'll get more into. I think we've talked a little bit about hopefully doing a draft special in the next few weeks. It's late into June, so it'll be maybe a month from now. We'll dig into that because the combine's going on right now, which is pretty cool. And we'll have new information coming out every day about different guys and whatnot, and different draft boards and what have you. So that's on the horizon. Celtics offseason on the horizon. More on round 2 and probably the East and West finals coming up. So as always, basketball never stops, for us at least, and this has been Hoop and Harm, crown jewel of Run the Jewels podcast production. My name is Pat Julian. That was the wonderful Andrew Barry from the excellent. I can't say enough great things about San Diego. Hope to do this maybe live in person sometime. Preferably there. Massachusetts is cool, but preferably there.
Hopefully down here.
Yeah. But thanks for watching, guys, and we will see you soon. Later.
Peace out.